Felicity recently held a grand fashion show, inviting many famous models. As the most authoritative show director in Felicity, I received the invitation immediately. I was fully responsible for the content of this show. After finishing the stage design, I returned home. I saw Michael leaning on the sofa, seemingly dozing off. I quietly approached, and Michael seemed to hear the sound. He tilted his head, his deep eyes looking at me.
Are you tired?
My delicate hand brushed through his dark hair, reaching his eyebrows, and gently massaged them with care. Although his hair covered it, I always felt that this scar affected his refined yet roguish charm. Apply some scar removal cream, I said, pointing to the deep scar. After a while, he touched that spot with his fingers, his eyes still a bit lazy.
All right.
Go take a bath, I'll finish cooking. He stood up, hugged me, and kissed the corner of my mouth. Then he went to the kitchen on his own. I stared blankly at his back, my mind filled with what Lily had told me in the evening. Michael's ex-girlfriend, Emily, had taken a blow for him, and the scar on his eyebrow was caused by the ring on her hand. It was said that Michael had remarked that this made them a couple. I never expected someone like Michael to say such a cheesy line, ha ha ha. Lily's voice kept echoing in my ears. Michael suddenly approached, his familiar scent enveloping me as he gently brushed my cheek.
Dinner's ready.
I turned around, my gaze settling on the scar on his eyebrow. After a moment's hesitation, I decided to ask him. I turned around, my gaze settling on the scar on his eyebrow. After a moment's hesitation, I decided to ask him.
How did you get the scar?
He paused, then replied with a hint of humor.
What, does it make me less handsome?
I nudged him playfully and asked again.
No, really, how did you get it?
He frowned slightly, a sign of his impatience that I knew well.
If you don't like it, I'll get it removed with laser treatment.
Looking into his deep eyes, I recalled the scene when we first met. It was at a fashion show. A model, without permission, had brought coffee backstage. The coffee spilled on another model's white dress, which was supposed to be the highlight of the show. There was no other option, I had to negotiate with the brand. Michael was the CEO of Felicity, someone I had only seen on TV. As luck would have it, Michael was also an investor in the brand. I first expressed my deep apologies and offered to cooperate unconditionally. Unexpectedly, Michael simply said,
Add me on WeChat, someone will contact you later.
At that time, I didn't know that the WeChat account was Michael's personal one. Later, at the after-party of the successful show, I, unable to hold my liquor, wandered around the venue. I encountered Michael again, standing alone under a fragrant tree. He waved his phone at me, and I instinctively glanced at mine. A boy's illustration avatar popped up on the chat screen.
Flowers bloom again.
I didn't quite understand what it meant. I just nodded at him and returned to the party. But from then on, Michael frequently appeared in my chat. Gradually, he suggested we be together. Who wouldn't like a handsome and wealthy bachelor like Michael? But I also knew their usual tricks, it was just a novelty. Coincidentally, I found it novel too, so I agreed. For a while, the trending topics were all about the love story between a financial mogul and a fashion industry leader. And I slowly fell into a big net called Michael. Who wouldn't fall for a man who provides both career and emotional support, especially when he's so handsome?
What are you thinking about?
Michael bit my lip discontentedly, as if punishing me for being distracted. I softly murmured, which only deepened his kiss. The room's temperature gradually rose as Michael led me towards the sofa. A string of untimely rings interrupted. Michael hung up without looking. But the phone rang again, persistently.
Answer it, it might be work-related.
He sighed, giving me a strong kiss on the cheek. He answered the call, and somehow, I felt this wasn't an ordinary call.
This better be important, David.
So it was David, the eldest son of Felicity, who was close to Michael. Just as I was about to relax, I heard Michael say,
Where is she?
"Who? Which she?" Michael's face turned icy after hanging up. I instinctively asked,
What's wrong?
Unlike usual, he didn't explain the situation before leaving. This time, he only said,
You eat well first, I'll be back soon.
Okay.
I chose to trust him. He picked up his coat without hesitation, leaving the room in silence, and my heart sank with it. The next day, I had an early meeting, so I got up very early. In the morning, I usually skip breakfast, but Michael, being the busy man he is, never misses it. Every day, he would urge me to eat. Today, the quietness of the room made me want to escape.
What's the matter? Why so surprised?
Perhaps my expression was too exaggerated, as his usually serious face broke into a smile.
I thought you wouldn't come back.
Don't I have to make breakfast for my darling? Otherwise, she wouldn't eat even if it killed her.
I raised an eyebrow and had just sat down when Michael's phone rang.
Answer it for me.
I picked up the phone and heard a woman on the other end rattling off an address.
Michael, Emma is not doing well. It's the usual place. You need to come and see her.
I frowned slightly and glanced at the unfamiliar number. In less than 5 seconds, I had extracted a few key words. Emma, usual place. Emma, the name sounded so familiar, but I just couldn't recall.
Sorry, Michael is busy right now.
Are you his secretary? No, this is his private number. You must be his woman. Let me tell you, don't get your hopes up.
The woman's tone instantly turned sharp. But before I could finish listening, Michael took the phone from me and hung up directly.
What did you hear?
A woman asked you to check on Emma at the usual place.
I emphasized the words usual place. Michael's face changed, and he hugged me.
She used to have mild depression, so.
Do you have to go?
He nodded without hesitation.
All right, I trust you.
Actually, I was thinking to myself, this is your first chance, and unfortunately, you didn't seize it. I watched his departing figure and the half-prepared breakfast in the kitchen. To say I wasn't hurt would be a lie. But I knew that feeling hurt was just a waste of my own energy. So I threw the kitchen trash, oh no, the breakfast, into the garbage bin. I slipped on my Jimmy Choos and gracefully drove to work. The shoes were great, just a bit uncomfortable. I remembered how Michael once saw my heels, raw and sore, and frowned so hard he could have killed a fly. He took some alcohol, disinfected the wounds, applied band-aids, and gently massaged my feet.
Do you really have to wear these?
Of course. The models at the show are very tall. I need to impress them.
He just shook his shoulders and laughed deeply. Since then, every time I wore high heels, he would put band-aids on my feet beforehand. My heart felt a bit swollen. I floored the gas pedal, bought a cup of coffee, and arrived at the show. My assistant Mia handed me today's model list and the distribution of outfits. I skimmed through it and saw the name Emma. My slender fingers tapped on the name.
This model is sick. She was supposed to walk in the last show, but she was replaced because of her illness. She's called in sick again today.
I nodded, looking at the girl whose features bore some resemblance to mine. No, it was I who resembled her. So Michael had come to see his ex-girlfriend's show last time. I pulled up a mocking smile. Somehow, today's show felt chaotic, making me uneasy. I was backstage, overseeing the lighting effects, the order of the models' appearances, and confirming the final showstopper outfit with the brand representatives.
Has Emma arrived? If not, find someone to replace her. We don't have time to wait.
I held the microphone.
This is the last rehearsal for today. Let's start.
I watched the models shine on stage, their skirts swaying with their steps.
Thank you, everyone. Today's rehearsal is over.
I sat on a soft chair, watching the models change out of their clothes, each respectfully waving goodbye to me. At moments like this, I felt a small sense of accomplishment. Finally, all the equipment was back in place, ready for tomorrow's show. These shoes were killing me.
Take me home. My feet are killing me.
Mia rolled her eyes at me.
To those models, you're the boss who decides if they get to go on stage. Who would know that in private, you're a total klutz?
I raised an eyebrow but didn't argue. I comfortably lay in the back seat. Ding, a friend request notification popped up. The profile picture was an illustration of a girl. Maybe it was a woman's intuition, but my heart skipped a beat. This illustration oddly resembled Michael's.
Hello, director. I'm model Emma. I deeply apologize for my repeated absences due to personal reasons, but this show is very important to me. Please give me another chance.
I chuckled.
Mia, my phone number has leaked. Handle it.
I had 2 WeChat accounts, one for family and friends, and another for colleagues, partners, and models. When I arrived at the villa, I took off my high heels and waved goodbye to Mia. I filled a tub with hot water and soaked in it, letting my whole body relax. I felt like I aged a few years after every rehearsal. I look forward to crossing mountains and brambles, to find a sea waiting for me. I look forward to a future night sky with a star shining because of me.
Hello?
Zoe, let's have another rehearsal this afternoon.
Michael, you know my rules. There's no second rehearsal.
Zoe, must you force me to use some means?
You're welcome to try, Mr. Michael.
I hung up the phone, laughing in frustration. You finance people think you can invade my territory in the fashion world. Mia quickly sent me a WeChat message.
Zoe, the brand wants another rehearsal this afternoon.
Tell them if they break my rules, they can handle the rehearsal themselves. I can afford the penalty.
Boss, you're awesome.
The director's most valuable asset is their team. Without this team, they can figure it out themselves for tomorrow's show. That night, I was sipping red wine on the sofa when Michael came back and sat beside me. No one spoke. After a long while, Michael finally broke the silence.
Zoe, Emma is my ex-girlfriend. She has mild depression. This show is her first comeback, so...
Shoo, I placed my white finger on his lips. An ambiguous atmosphere surrounded us.
Mr. Michael, I'm not like your previous flings. I don't tolerate any nonsense. Tonight, I have to deal with the penalty, so I won't be coming back.
As I stood up, Michael pulled me onto his lap.
Wearing high heels again? Why didn't you put on a Band-Aid?
He lightly scolded me, his hands moving swiftly. I watched his actions coldly, feeling a bit bitter inside.
I've already paid the penalty. Rest tonight.
Mr. Michael, you're efficient. Don't worry, even if I paid the penalty, I won't make things difficult for your ex-girlfriend.
Zoe, don't be like this. I only feel guilty towards her. This is just compensation. There's no future for us.
I looked down, seeing my reflection in his eyes. I couldn't resist and leaned in to kiss him. In the end, we were both breathless, but we didn't go all the way. He said it's better to wait until marriage. I nestled in his arms, listening to our synchronized heartbeats. Someone once said that people with synchronized heartbeats wouldn't part. My mind was filled with memories of Michael entering my life, making everything orderly. I never lost anything at home anymore. My daily routine became regular. He would dry my hair immediately after washing it, set off fireworks for my birthday. No matter how busy he was, he would always pick me up after work. My heart softened, and I told myself to give him another chance. I stared blankly at Michael's back, my mind swirling with what Lily had told me in the evening.
Zoe, did you know Emily took a blow for Michael? The scar on his eyebrow was caused by the ring on her hand. Michael even said it made them a couple.
I never expected someone like Michael to say such a cheesy line, ha ha ha. Lily's voice kept echoing in my ears. After moving back to my apartment, Lily insisted on cooking for me. She bought loads of groceries.
Just let me do the cooking.
Just as the elevator doors were about to close, a slender hand reached in. A tall guy in a black hoodie, with the hood up, stepped in. He looked listless, as if nothing could pique his interest. Lily recognized him instantly.
Ethan, you live here?
Yeah.
We pressed the button for the 9th floor, and he didn't press any, suggesting he was a neighbor. But I didn't think much of it. When we got home, I kicked off my shoes and collapsed on the sofa, watching Lily take care of me.
That guy, don't be fooled by his career in esports, he also protects animals. We once met in an elephant conservation area.
That's quite compassionate.
Isn't it? He's pretty reliable too.
The hot pot smelled delicious, and the cold beer mixed with Sprite was refreshing. But Lily only stayed for a day before she had to leave.
See you at New Year's.
She's with an animal protection organization and is rarely home throughout the year. I took her to the airport and watched her wave goodbye. On the way home, I bought a lot of instant food. After all, I'd be living alone and needed to keep myself fed. Looking at the empty house, a sense of helplessness enveloped me. I glanced at the friend requests from Michael and Emma on my phone and let out a mocking laugh. I curled up on the sofa and soon fell asleep. Maybe the air conditioning was too warm. I woke up drenched in sweat.
What a day.
I decided to take a shower, but just as I lathered up, the water stopped. I checked my phone and realized I had an unpaid bill, and the payment office was closed. Covered in soap, I decided to stay at a hotel for the night. As I stepped out, I saw Ethan squatting by my door.
What happened to you?
I just took out the trash and forgot my phone and keys.
Well, my water's out, and I was in the middle of a shower. I'm heading to a hotel.
Can I come with you?
As a 27-year-old woman, I didn't quite grasp the meaning of his request. I had some confidential stuff at home, so leaving him alone there wasn't ideal. I decided to take him to the hotel and get him a room. Another unexpected twist, one ID could only book one room.
Get a suite.
Luckily, the suite had several rooms, almost as big as my apartment.
I'll take this one. Choose any of the others.
Ethan nodded. I soaked in the warm water, feeling enveloped in comfort. Wrapped in the hotel's blankets, I slept soundly until morning. I lazily got up and opened the door to see breakfast on the table and Ethan in the kitchen.
You are awake. I can only cook to thank you.
Thanks, Ben.
After a decent breakfast, we headed home together. After all, I had to ensure he got home safely after eating his breakfast. As soon as we reached the underground parking, Michael appeared out of nowhere and grabbed my hand.
Zoe, we need to talk.
Michael, we're adults. There's nothing to discuss.
At that moment, Ethan walked over, carrying bags in one hand and putting his other arm around my shoulder. Michael frowned at the bag with the hotel's name on it. He seemed to ignite with anger.
Zoe, I loved you so much and never even touched you. You left me for him?
Michael, there's no one else. I don't like young guys like him, and I'm over you too.
Michael swung a punch at Ethan.
Hey!
But to my surprise, Ethan, despite looking frail, quickly subdued Michael.
Are you okay?
Who?
You.
It hurts a bit.
Do you need to go to the hospital?
Just help me bandage it at home.
Call Emma, Michael.
Before I could finish, Ethan pulled me away. Back at my apartment, Ethan curled up on the sofa, quietly waiting. I grabbed some alcohol and band-aids to dress his wound.
I'm sorry for dragging you into this.
You don't like young guys?
His sudden question caught me off guard.
Then you must like mature ones. You should have said so earlier. I've been pretending all this time.
As Ethan inched closer, I realized he wasn't some innocent college student but a wolf in disguise. His warm breath brushed the top of my head. I tilted my head slightly, watching his Adam's apple move.
Ethan, show some respect.
Something in my words seemed to deflate him.
You really don't remember me?
You know, Emily took a blow for him. That scar on his eyebrow? It was caused by the ring on her hand.
Really?
Yeah. And Michael said it made them a couple. Can you believe it? So cheesy.
I couldn't stop thinking about Lily's words. I didn't pay much attention to Michael's disappointment and called a locksmith. I saw Ethan out the door. That night, I tried to contact Lily, but she didn't respond. She was probably on her way. The next morning, I was awakened by a knock on the door. Rubbing my sleepy eyes, I opened it.
Morning!
He held breakfast, every item to my taste. I frowned.
Did you get this information from Lily?
He remained silent, handed me the food, and turned back to his room. For an entire week, Ethan took care of all my meals. I couldn't hold it in any longer and confronted him.
Ethan, what exactly do you mean by this?
I'm pursuing you.
I'm not in the mood for a relationship right now.
Are you stuck in your past relationship?
I heard the implication in his words.
That doesn't affect me.
The revolution is not yet successful. Comrades still need to work hard.
That afternoon, I received an invitation. After resting for these days, I felt fully recharged. I put on perfect makeup, a sharp suit, and high heels. Ready for battle. As I opened the door opposite also opened.
Put on the Band-Aid.
I can do it myself.
He said nothing, walked over, and knelt down. He applied the band-aid for me. Then he patted his hands and went back. A mature woman knows this is a tactic to attract attention. And I fell for it. Ethan always appeared unexpectedly. It seemed unintentional, but he always stirred up my calm life. That day, the sun was shining brightly. After rehearsal, it suddenly started flashing. My heart skipped a beat. I quickly drew the curtains, turned on all the lights, and turned up the TV volume. I curled up on the sofa, waiting quietly for the thunder. But instead of thunder, I heard a knock on the door. A rapid knock. I peeked through the peephole and saw Ethan. His anxious expression puzzled me. When I opened the door, he saw my bare feet and immediately scooped me up.
Ah.
Then came the rumbling thunder, and I instinctively buried my head in Ethan's chest. Listening to his strong heartbeat, I felt much calmer. Ethan didn't make any inappropriate moves, he just held me close. With all the windows closed, I felt drowsy and eventually fell asleep. When I woke up, the sky was clear, and Ethan had left at some point. I felt like I had seen this scene somewhere before, but thinking about it gave me a headache. Forget it. I opened my laptop to prepare for the next rehearsal. After finishing my work, I accidentally opened my email and saw a message from an animal protection organization. I frowned, feeling a bit of a headache. I opened the email, which contained a photo of me, a wild elephant, and Ethan. I only remembered going to protect elephants with Lily, but why did I have no memory of Ethan? I called Lily and learned about a part of my past I had forgotten.
Back then, you faced a setback in your career, so I took you to the tropical rainforest to relax. The innocent elephants lifted your spirits, and you met someone named Ethan.
We watched waterfalls together, fed elephants, and gazed at the stars at night. But the frequent rain in the rainforest gradually eroded my memory, and I eventually forgot everything about the rainforest. Including Ethan. So, before Michael, I had met Ethan. Ethan had been in closed training abroad for 5 months for a competition. When he returned, I was already with Michael.
It was mostly Ethan's fault. He liked you but never showed it. It wasn't until he saw you with Michael that he realized he couldn't live without you. He thought you were happy and silently stayed by your side until you and Michael broke up.
I hung up the phone, unsure how to face Ethan. Did I like him? I didn't know. I ruffled my hair, feeling frustrated, and decided not to think about it. But Ethan suddenly launched a fierce pursuit. At the fashion show, I overheard the models whispering.
That guy holding the flowers is so handsome. I wonder who he's waiting for.
I assumed it was just some boyfriend waiting for his model girlfriend to finish work. I didn't even glance outside. I continued with the rehearsal. Finally, it ended, and as I stepped out, a bouquet of fresh red roses appeared before me.
Sis, can I take you out for dinner?
Looking at Ethan's puppy eyes, I unconsciously nodded. Ethan chuckled softly and drove me to his place. As soon as we entered, his golden retriever greeted me enthusiastically.
Sis, the carpet is new.
I don't like wearing socks and prefer walking barefoot, but having carpets all over the house is hard to maintain. Walking barefoot on the soft carpet, I felt a little warmth in my heart. I sat on the sofa, hugging the golden retriever, and observed the room's decor. It was clean and orderly, clearly the home of someone who knows how to live well. Before long, the aroma of food filled the air. I glanced at Ethan in the kitchen, sleeves rolled up, revealing his strong arms, and I was momentarily dazed. No wonder he's good at gaming, his long fingers looked very touchable. Dinner was delightful, and I was just thinking about leaving.
Sis, there's a star I had named for you. Come over.
His voice was so gentle that I felt enchanted, standing in front of the telescope. He wrapped his arms around me from behind and pointed to a star.
Sis, it's named after your birthday.
Early spring in February, the chill of spring still lingering, waiting for the city to be in full bloom, tirelessly going to see you. Reading the words on the star certificate and seeing the stars in Ethan's eyes, I didn't refuse his heartfelt kiss. Our relationship evolved, as evidenced by Ethan's change in how he addressed me. From sis to baby. I admit it was a bit cheesy, but I liked it. At the fashion show, I watched Ethan's live gaming stream. He looked so handsome. During the award ceremony for Ethan's team, the game commentator suddenly mentioned Ethan.
As we all know, Ethan's IP has always been Ethan, but why did he recently change his nickname?
Ethan looked at the camera and chuckled.
Too many female fans. I don't want my baby to get jealous.
Hearing the audience's gasps, the host widened his eyes and continued to ask.
So, Ethan's girlfriend is named Zoe?
She's not in the industry, no exposure.
Mia called my name several times before I snapped back to reality.
Boss, you definitely have something going on lately. You've been smiling foolishly, and there's a whiff of romance in the air.
Go away!
I took the list of models, and there was Emma's name again. I'm not a saint, I say no directly to people I don't like. Pointing at Emma's name, I said,
I don't want to see this name in our team anymore.
Trying to annoy me without considering her own status. After eliminating this annoying little troublemaker, I happily finished work. At the door, I ran into Michael, his tall figure leaning against the car door, the red glow of his cigarette flickering. I used to hate him smoking the most. Seeing me, Michael extinguished the cigarette, looking like a child caught doing something wrong.
Zoe.
Mr. Michael, is there something you need?
Don't treat me like this.
What are you saying, Mr. Michael? You're a big shot in the financial world, I'm just being respectful.
Is there really no chance for us?
I helped Michael smooth out his shirt.
We're both outstanding in our fields, let's not make it hard for each other.
I glanced over and saw Ethan's gloomy face. Oh no, the puppy is angry. I quickly went to soothe him. Ethan drove silently, steadily, making me feel uneasy.
Ethan?
What?
Are you angry?
No!
Seeing Ethan's ruffled hair, I couldn't help but laugh.
You still laugh.
Though he was angry, he slowed his pace to wait for me as we went upstairs. Entering the apartment, I kicked off my high heels and stepped onto the carpet. With a running start, I jumped onto Ethan's back.
I watched the live stream, it was very touching.
I kissed his cheek with a mwah. He hummed softly, but his ears turned red.
I was really rejecting him just now.
But you helped him straighten his clothes. I don't care, you have to help me too. All right, all right.
I kissed him again. The puppy was soothed, his eyes full of me. The following spring, Ethan put a ring on my finger. In our new home, every detail showed Ethan's thoughtfulness: the carpet, the balcony, the telescope, the little elephant on the bedside table. Every detail was a testament to our past. From then on, in the years to come, Ethan would hold me, and together we would watch that twinkling star in the sky. We held each other tightly, facing the incoming wind, the twinkling stars, and the light stretching along the streets to the horizon.